Hello, Steve.
Hello, Alex.
This is BeardWags.
This is BeardWags.
We can't just repeat each other.
In case you don't know what BeardWags is, this is two friends who live next door to each other meeting up to chat about the things they like.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to sum it up.
It's a nice way to sum it up, I think.
It's a good way to sum it up. Maybe we should put that in the summary. I think it's just good to clarify that by BeardWags we mean like chin wagging and not like we're wags of beards.
Yeah, like wives and girlfriends, footballers' wives.
Yeah.
Not us. Maybe one day.
No, well, maybe.
A wag can dream.
Yeah, only. So we're back.
We're back. I mean, you said in case you haven't heard of us, you probably haven't heard of us because
no, you probably haven't.
We don't have listeners because we've just started. This is episode 2.
This is episode 2. We're recording it fairly close to episode 1 because we just decided that we're just going to talk and see how you guys respond. And as we've said already, but again, in case you didn't hear it, we're really looking for your feedback.
And I think that a lot of our influence is because of how good episode 1 and 2 of Star Wars were. I think we really want to put a lot of emphasis on how good our episode 1 and 2 are going to be.
I tell you what, episode 1 and 2 of Star Wars are quite possibly 2 of the best works of modern cinema.
If there's one thing George Lucas can do, it's not fuck up a story.
Well, I tell you what, you're not wrong there, my friend.
Do you know what I learned?
What?
And this is probably, I think, from one of Kevin Smith's podcasts, but I learned that Disney bought all of George Lucas's ideas for the new Star Wars film and didn't use any of them.
And do you know what? Well done, Disney. That was a very good idea.
I mean, apparently, even for A New Hope, his idea was there was a guy called Starkiller and his dad had been killed by a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean,
that was his story, and I think it was reworked from there, and I don't know if it was entirely him.
Well, essentially, he could be credited with the conception of Star Wars, but much more capable people have gone on to make it.
Right, bear with me 1 second. I've got to test some levels. Okay, we're back.
Oh, what's going on here?
Don't worry, it's just different tracks, but it will all come down.
All right, fair enough.
To normal. So, that's fine. I'm sorry about that. We just had... I think Steve was a bit quiet, I was a bit loud. Which was actually the opposite of what happened with the last one.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly.
You can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't. Hilarious. So...
Hilarious.
Absolutely hilarious. So, Alex, we're both fairly geeky. I mean, if we were to put it on a scale, I'd probably be a little bit above on that level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the term geek because it's just so vague now.
I agree, but I use the term geek for myself because I'm proud to be a geek. It's something that I want to almost take back, you know.
I think to an extent everyone is.
Yeah,
and I don't mean that like, yeah, we're all the same, but I mean
everyone has geeky tendencies.
It's fashionable. Like, I mean, you are very into your comics, your manga,
or just about anything really.
And you're passionate about these things that you've liked since you were a kid. I mean, for me, I only really got into superheroes when I was in my late teens.
Sure.
And in terms of graphic novels and comics, I don't read that much. I have some. I mean, I have V for Vendetta. I have Marvel Civil War. I have maybe they're over there. I have like 6 comics. I have Killing Joke.
Not a bad place to start.
No, but that's it. I don't want to collect them. I just, if there are... Whoa, excuse me. Sorry, I had a hiccup. Ones that I like the sound of or people recommend, I'll go, yeah, okay, I'll get that. But you have a vast collection. I've been to your flat. There are just containers full of comics.
There are containers full of comics, yeah.
And vials of semen, which is weird. I didn't bring that up before.
Yeah, well, I'd rather not talk about it on air.
Okay. On air! This is being recorded.
Now, listen, I think a good thing to do would be to talk about something influential in your life that maybe steered you towards being interested in the things you're interested in. Like being somewhat geeky is something that we have in common. We probably connected over similar interests and not even just comic books and stuff, but we're both into movies.
TV
for different
shows
reasons.
as well.
TV shows, definitely. So tell me something.
Tell you something. I guess, do you know what really steers me in terms of what I'm really interested in? is comedy.
Sure.
And that's not saying, oh, I'm really funny, because I don't think I am, but I really like things that I find. Oh, thanks, baby. I think you're funny. But I really like things that I find funny, and I guess everyone likes to laugh. But in terms of film, TV, I really like not just the whole genre of comedy, but comedy done well in different ways. Like since I was a kid, my granddad, my late grandpa actually, would show me. We'd watch Laurel and Hardy together.
Oh yeah.
And it was awesome. I loved it.
Definitely.
And that kind of led me to. I did my script writing course, and everything I ended up writing sort of accidentally turned into a comedy.
Sure.
Because it's not to say that I was taking, being like, oh, I want this to be a comedy. It's just that I always tend to see the comedy in real life, because again, my grandpa taught me never take yourself too seriously.
One thing that I think Ricky Gervais and Steve Merchant said on sort of writing comedy is that write about what you know, write about real life, and the comedy flows from that.
It does. There are real life situations which you experience, and then you think this should be in a movie or something, because it's like, for example, at a funeral when you get the giggles or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just we said before, you can't make this stuff up, and you can't, because ultimately the tragedy of real life sort of works parallel to the comedy.
Definitely.
So that's what got me into. So in terms of like we talked about Arrested Development, I think when we first met we were at the pub and we talked about like Arrested Development and
we did
Community.
Yeah.
We talked about our mutual disdain for The Big Bang Theory.
We did.
And yeah, that's what I like. I think I just and I guess that's where the comic book thing came in, because I'm not really into comic books, but I do like a lot of comics because of the comedy and tragedy factor that they have.
I genuinely think you can learn a lot about script writing from comic book script writing. It's really interesting.
I've never tried to write like panels for comic books, but I just know it would be extremely difficult.
Definitely, because it's well, in a way you have to be able to visualize as you're writing as well. And I know you have to do that in normal script writing, but you have to plan out your panels as well. So you almost have to know exactly what's going on.
It's like a storyboard for a movie.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary about Pixar. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the Pixar story or something. And the work that they did to get Toy Story to its final sort of production standard, where because initially they'd done one, like a trial one, sent it to Disney, and Disney were like, no, we don't like this. It's not good.
Wasn't the original version Woody a bad guy? Like a proper bad guy?
Yeah, he was like, I think, and then Buzz was tiny. He was like this little tiny toy.
And
I think he was a vibrator, actually.
Yeah.
Because that's why it's called Buzz.
Buzz Lightyear, yeah, I like it.
Buzz Lightyear.
Have you seen some of the original storyboards?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, that it was just panels and panels on the wall of each different frame of Toy Story. And I guess that's what you have to do for comic books as well, because I guess the real art is in... I want to say the real art is in the drawing, but the drawing and the story need to work so well in tandem.
Some writers plan everything and they write out exactly what's going on in a panel, and they do like thumbnails so they can show their artist if they're not drawing it as well.
Oh, okay.
Some writers literally write the script and the characters that are going to be in the panel, and then they allow the artists the flexibility to almost, tell their own story as well. So it really does depend.
Yeah, you're right. I like learning things, and I like learning things from you, because I'm not passionate about comic books. That's something I'll admit. I'll tell you what I'm passionate about. Video gaming, movies, TV shows. I play the drums.
Nice.
And writing. And that's not like saying, oh, I'm a writer, I write stuff, but like... That's my profession. Like,
anyone that sits down and writes something, in my eyes, is a writer, regardless
of
how you want to label it. Like, if you write things, you're a writer.
That's true. It's just hard to... I mean, my job is to, well, you know this, but I'm just saying this for people who might listen.
I get that.
So I write scripts for commercials for radio stations. So it's not like I'm writing stories each time, but I just get to be creative in my job. And it may just be like a 20-second commercial for a dog grooming company, but it's still fun because I get to basically just write every day.
Yeah,
that's my whole job.
Yeah,
and I think that a lot of people assume when you say you're a writer that it's like, oh yeah, what do you mean you fucking smoke a pipe in your tweeds and
yeah, I know
no
what
shoes?
You mean. There's almost like a connotation that you're a bit of a hipster kind of wannabe. That
wanker.
Well, yeah, when you say you're a writer, it's like I
was calling you a wanker.
Oh right, okay, fair enough.
I'm just kidding, but yes.
I would say that you do it as part of your job. You're a writer.
Yeah.
A few years ago, when I used to write all the time, I'd have said I was a writer.
Well, we were just talking about it before we started recording, the amount of time you used to spend on writing, and then you've just recently got back into it.
I have.
And I've read one of the things you've written, and it was really, really readable. Like, some people, I think, have a natural talent for it, and I think you're one of these people because you're passionate about what you're writing. You only write what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I do. I would never write about something that doesn't interest me. I don't see the point.
Girls.
I write about girls all the time in my diary.
In your diary?
Yeah.
Does Ali know? She's like next to you, like, who are you writing about? What girls are these?
Yeah. I'm like, shut up, bitch.
Shut up. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know me. And then you storm out and come here.
Yeah,
that's
true.
why we're recording this.
Yeah, she's furious right now.
Yeah.
But fuck her.
She's stomping around the room, tearing pages out your diary and
trying to read it. But I write
burning
it in a
marks
secret language.
Yeah. Secret. Oh, invisible ink.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you remember ink eradicators at school?
I do.
Everyone wanted one of those.
And they were crap.
They were crap.
You couldn't write back over them.
And also, you'd eradicate the ink once, and then that white bit would be blue for the rest of time.
Yeah, yeah. And also, you could actually see what you'd written before anyway.
Yeah.
They were poo. But everyone wanted one, like you say.
I'll tell you a funny story. The first time I got drunk... Oh, okay, look. I'm going to say the first time I get drunk, and then you tell the first time you got drunk.
I will do.
So, the first time I got drunk was at my primary school, because we were friends with the headmaster's son.
Oh, okay.
And me and two other friends stayed over with this headmaster's son because they lived at the school.
Okay.
And we stole some wine from his mum and dad's collection and went down to... We'd started off by having a LAN party playing Warcraft 2.
Oh, nice.
It was fun.
See, that sounds more appealing to me than stealing wine.
Well, that's it. We were there, and we were in the IT room at school. We'd connected these. I think there were 4 or 5 of us. We'd connected them all, and we were playing that. And then we did that for most of the night. And then, when his dad and mum had gone to bed, we nicked some wine. Got really. Oh, and my cousin was there as well. I remember that. And we got really drunk. And that isn't just me saying that I have a cousin. That's crucial to the story.
Okay.
So we got really drunk. I remember because it was on wine, and I'd never got drunk before, and I remember...
How old were you?
I was... I want to say 12 or 13.
Sure.
And it wasn't like get so drunk that you'd pass out, but it was just we were drunk and experiencing the feeling of being drunk for one of the first times. And then my cousin had got into one of the year 1 classrooms, found a pen for the whiteboard, and wrote in massive letters, "cunt," across the whole whiteboard. Only then to find out that he'd picked up a permanent marker. Couldn't rub it out. I don't know why, but he just goes, "Oh, fine, I'll leave it." The headmaster found it the next day.
Oh, no.
I'd gone by then. Like, I don't think I got in trouble, because I didn't do it.
I'll tell you what, you're going to get in trouble now that you've put it out in the public domain.
Well, I'll tell you, this headmaster then went on to have an affair with the music teacher, and then nearly jumped off a cliff.
Holy shit.
I know, it was a scandal. It's like an episode of Midsummer Murders.
It does sound like something from a TV show.
Yeah. And it's true. And I remember the next day I had the dentist, and I was lying on the dentist chair, and it wasn't till later on, like in life, that I realised he could probably smell the wine on my breath.
Or cock.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We got drunk, and then the headmaster got his cock out.
Beautiful.
How did you get drunk for the first time?
Well, I tell you what, it's I've been drunk probably less times than you can count on one hand.
4?
Maybe.
That's less times.
I don't
I
drink.
have 5 fingers on one hand.
Well done. You've learnt maths today as well.
Yes, Steve teaches Alex.
No, do you know what? I like having the occasional drink, but I never drink a lot. I never have. But the first time I got properly drunk, I was probably I must have been 18 because we were in a bar, and I know I was legal. So it was a friend from work's birthday party.
First time you got drunk was when you were 18?
Yes.
That's pretty brave.
Standard. What do you mean brave?
No, well, not brave, but like a lot of people... I mean, I was peer pressured into it. Like, I remember being like, oh, I hope my mum doesn't find out.
See, I worked in a restaurant from the age of about 12 till 17, and I had, at staff parties, they let me have a drink.
Oh, okay.
But I never got out of hand. I only had one or two. Like, it never tasted good to me.
Oh, okay.
It took me a long time to find a drink that I liked the taste of.
Yeah.
And so the first time I got drunk, we were out with a bunch of people from work, which was McDonald's back then. And they were all really keen on seeing me drunk because they all used to go out every weekend and I never did. So everyone was buying me drinks. I barely paid a penny. And from about midnight till 3 o'clock, I can't remember anything.
Really?
But when I just suddenly remember getting out of a taxi, my stream of consciousness disappears for 3 hours. And I remember being in a bar and then being outside my house, my dad's house at the time. Didn't have any keys. I think I had my wallet, but I didn't have my mobile phone.
Oh, man.
I'd lost a Dream Theater CD that I had with me.
Dream Theater?
Yeah, they're a band.
Oh, right.
I'd lent them.
What kind of band?
Like progressive rock, kind of.
I'd never heard of them.
I'll play you sometime. They're good.
Okay.
But I'd had this imported CD of theirs, and a friend had given it back, and I lost it.
Oh, right. You didn't just take it out.
No,
You're
no,
like,
no.
oh, sure, love these guys.
Yeah,
I'm going to take their CD to the bar.
I was showing it to
Maybe
everyone.
they'll play it on the hi-fi system.
Yeah, that's exactly. I pulled it out of my pocket. And I was like, guys, look at this awesome band. And
This will get me laid.
being in my drunk state, I knocked on the door. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. No answer. I didn't knock very loudly, but being in my drunk state, I decided that probably the back door would be open because that's logical when you're drunk. And
Yeah.
So the back gate was locked though.
Oh, no.
So I tried to climb over.
Did you fall?
It was pretty flimsy. I snapped the back gate and the entire back fence fell over with it.
Did you hurt yourself?
No, well, as I hit the floor, I landed on my stomach and threw up.
Oh. It
And then
pushed all the badness out.
It did.
Blah.
I banged on the door until my stepmom woke up, and then the next morning she woke me up and said, "Get down here now."
Oh, no.
There was a trail of sick from the front door to my bedroom. In the back garden were both my trainers in a puddle of sick, and the entire back fence was snapped in half.
Do you remember being sick?
No, I don't
Jesus.
remember much of it. And that was the point where I decided...
Did you have to clean it up?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
It was the point though where I decided that I'll get tipsy, but I'm not gonna get drunk.
I don't like getting that drunk. A lot of people go out every weekend and get that drunk. They come in on Monday, they're like, "Oh, I was so fucked at the weekend."
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, I don't care.
It's never. Don't get me wrong. I like going to bars, and I like we hang out and we can chat.
I
and
enjoy
stuff.
getting drunk, but it gets to a point where people are just quick, drink as much as you can, get as drunk as you can, so the next day I can talk about how drunk I was.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that, and also I can't drink for the sake of drinking. Some people drink to get drunk. I have to like the taste of a drink.
But
in order
you
to
don't like the taste of beer.
I don't.
And I find that sometimes I'll have a sip of beer, and I'll go ugh like that, and I'll drink it because I do like beer. But I don't know if it's that your taste buds are different from day to day, or if sometimes it's just bad beer. But there are definitely some days where I don't like the taste of beer.
No, I know what you mean. I try beer.
Some days I will drink a pint nearly in one because I'm so thirsty, and it's just the only thing that can quench my thirst.
See,
that sounds alcoholic, doesn't it?
No. I've always liked the idea of on a summer's day sitting out in the beer garden having a beer, and occasionally I get it into my head.
It's my favourite thing to do.
Really? See, I get it into my head. I'm like, yeah, a nice cool beer. Never works. I never like it.
Really?
Cider.
Have you had shandy?
I've had shandy. I don't like it. I can do cider. Cider's nice on a warm day.
See, I don't like... I mean, there's this one cider which I really like called Bee Sting, and it's this 7% stuff that some friends and I used to drink in Bath. It's like a West Country cider, so it's made really strong. I don't know why, but it just is. And that's really nice. And it also... You don't need to drink very much and you're drunk. Like, you have 3 pints and then you don't have to have any more drinks for the evening because you're just at a good stage of drunkenness. But yeah, cider, big pint of cider with half a glass full of ice, I'll drink it if it's there, but I'd rather have a nice cold beer.
That's fair enough. We're drinking right now, I should say.
What have you got?
Some alcohol. I'm drinking my favourite drink, which is Jack Daniels and Pepsi Max.
Pepsi Max or Pep? Would you rather have a Pepsi?
No, Max.
Really?
Max, every step of the way. It tastes better to me.
Now, I know one of my very close friends will not shut up about Pepsi Max.
Really?
Yeah, because he's like, oh, Pepsi Max is way better than Pepsi. And I don't agree, and I know you agree with him.
I do.
I don't know why. I feel like Pepsi Max tastes like the Diet Coke to Coke.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Shut your goddamn...
Oh, I'm thinking of Diet Coke, that's it.
Shut your whore mouth.
Excuse me, 1 second.
Lovely.
I'm sorry, I did go away from the mic.
You did. You did. Now,
let me lead on to what I'm drinking, which is a pint of Foster's beer.
You are. That Tom Knight graciously donated
Tom
to
Knight, thank you. I met you once, and you gave me beer by accident. So,
I mean,
many happy returns.
That's a good way to meet someone.
Can you say many happy returns? Like, I hope you return many times happily. Or does it just mean happy birthday?
I don't know.
I'm going to say that to people from now on. Like,
many
I
happy
hope
returns.
you return many times happily.
Yeah. Yeah, what does that even mean on your
My
birthday?
uncle once got me a birthday card that said best wishes for the future, and it was like a you're leaving card. I think he just picked it up.
Best wishes for the future on your chemotherapy. You
Oh my
might live.
God, Jesus Christ. I don't have cancer, I'm just bald.
Now, let me tell you something.
Yes.
Oh
yeah, what has defined you as the geek that you are?
I'll tell you what, that's a very good question, and it's something that I was thinking about recently because I just did. Basically.
I mean, I think most days. So
yeah, I try to.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for the brain, good for the soul.
I'll tell you what happened really is I've always been sort of aware of the comic books and stuff, but I kind of got into it. Originally, a friend of mine who lived nearby lent me some Commando comic books, which is this British one that comes out. And I kind of read them half-heartedly. I was really young at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Wales, I met someone. I became friends with a guy called Tom Wright, who will probably listen to this. So
Tom Wright is not Tom Knight.
Tom Wright is not Tom Knight. No,
we call him Jesus Christ.
We call him Tom Wright and Tom Knight. And Ali makes me call them Tom London and Tom Crew. Like where they live, because
because they rhyme.
So basically, me and Tom became very close at high school, and I went to stay with his dad in Manchester, and his dad had like just the most obscene collection of comic books you've ever seen, and I basically spent the weekend reading comic books and just shooting the shit with Tom. And I think like he showed me some films by Kevin Smith and stuff, but I'll tell you where it really all began. And at this point I'd sort of read a few comic books and played some Pokemon cards and stuff and played the games. But
Pokemon,
great card game. But sitting down at Tom's and watching a video that he'd recorded from the Sci-Fi Channel, a film called Akira by Katsuhiro
I've heard
Otomo.
of that.
Yeah,
and it's got that huge thing, that huge blob.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's based on a manga, which is a six issue series, which is
What's the one where they're like Tetsuo?
That is Akira.
Is that Akira?
Yeah, and the one he had was subtitled, not dubbed. And just sitting there with my eyes wide watching this film from the 80s that it essentially is credited.
Is it from
for
the 80s?
88, I think.
That's cool.
Credited for introducing manga and anime to sort of a wider Western audience, along with Ghost in a Shell. Those two are sort of the ones that brought it over, and it blew my mind. And it was around the same time also that I saw The Matrix.
Oh yeah.
And I think those two films, combined with all the comic books I read at Tom's dad's, were what set me on the path to being who I am today.
I guess that those two added together, The Matrix and this manga, Akira, and just manga in general, equate to your fondness for your favourite band.
Coheed and
Cambria.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, they've got the sci-fi elements in there, and they're very sort of they're out there with their storytelling. And the good thing is you can listen to the music.
They're no Dream Sequence or whatever that was.
Dream Theater.
Dream Theater.
Dream Theater are a very technical band. All of them like teach the instruments they play as well.
Oh, cool.
So when you see them on stage, they are technically like geniuses with the instruments they have.
Do you know what I like to think? When you lost that CD,
yeah,
someone the next day picked it up and it saved their life somehow.
I
They were like, I'm having a terrible day today,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they pick up this album and listen to it, and it saves their life.
It's like the IT crowd at the funeral. I got
Oh,
you this
yeah.
CD. It's
What,
called
Cradle
coffin,
of Filth?
coffin fodder.
Doesn't sound very nice, but it's quite lovely. Or he says something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I like to think that Dream Theater saved someone's life that day.
I'm going to listen to Dream Theater. That's going to be my homework.
Oh, they're a great band. They are a great band.
Sorry, carry on with your...
No, I think that's really it. It sort of Akira and The Matrix were the stepping stones into I hit an age when I was about sort of 15, 16. I was working. I didn't have to pay rent. And I wanted to absorb anything I could. Like, I got into heavy metal. I got into Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And I just used to, any time I had money, I was obsessed with collecting all their albums. And it was the same with comic books. Like, the first ever comic books I think I bought were the Akira ones, and they were expensive at the time because
Really?
Amazon was barely a thing.
That must have been... What year was that then? Like 2004?
Maybe 2004, 2005.
Because I remember Amazon was like... it was this new concept, and all it did was sold DVDs.
No, it started out books. I'm sure Amazon was books first.
Was it books first?
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, I paid probably about 25 quid per issue of Akira at the time. And even now, they're still fairly expensive. But
That's a lot of money.
I saved up and sort of went out on my way to get all 6 of them, and it cost me a lot. And I remember, like, I bought one from some spurious seller on Amazon or eBay, and they hadn't listed which one it was. So randomly, Volume 4 showed up, and I was like, whew, I didn't have that one, so I got lucky.
Oh, phew.
So it cost me like 9 quid or something.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't know what it was going to be. But that's kind of
the risks you got to take.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, this was when the internet was still barely a thing for us. You know, now it's a natural part of our lives. But back then, trying to get hold of the comic books you loved was difficult.
Well, you talked about Pokemon.
I did.
And for me, like, obviously Pokemon was a big part of it, like, our sort of age. You're 27, right?
Yeah.
I'm 25, so we're similar sort of ages. Pokemon was like the game, not just the card game, but the actual...
the video game, yeah.
Video game was a big thing, but I mentioned my love of video games, and that stemmed from... there was the PS1 with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon.
Sure.
Big like titles that I'll always remember so fondly.
Definitely.
But more passionately about story and a real gaming experience was Ocarina of Time, because I remember being about 8 when I had a second cousin of mine who I'm still quite close with. We'd used to go round to his house sometimes where he was living with his parents, my mum's auntie and uncle. We'd go round, and I'd always want to go up and play on his N64, and he'd always be up there playing Ocarina of Time. And
Sure.
I remember because he used to think I was really fucking annoying for just wanting to go up and ask him about what the Deku Tree was and what's happening now. And I remember him saying, "No, you can't play it," and he was being so mean all the time. He wouldn't let me.
See,
play
what I
it.
find funny is that you had a PlayStation and you were into story and you never fell onto Final Fantasy. It amazes me.
I don't know why. Like I mean, I'd always heard of Final Fantasy. It just never interested me.
See, for me, the video games that really got me going were obviously Pokemon Blue and Red. Like, that was the first proper RPG I maybe played. And then Final Fantasy VI on the Super Nintendo, and A Link to the Past, the Zelda game on the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
And then leading into Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1, and Shenmue, a game for the Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah, the Dreamcast was such a good console.
It was a great console, which incidentally Tom Wright lent me, and again, Shenmue was just, it inflamed my passion for storytelling in video games. And I love Zelda. I think
Zelda's my favourite franchise, I think, in terms of gaming.
It's up there for me, definitely. They're always just visual masterpieces. I mean, I would say in terms of storytelling, the Final Fantasy games have probably got it trumped, but in terms of just sheer wonder, Zelda is better.
One thing that I think that Zelda did really well to monopolise on was the fact that Link doesn't speak.
Yeah, I
love it, and the characters just make noises to get across the way that they're feeling.
Although I feel
it's
like
kind of creepy, and I like it.
In a modern setting, I think Link needs a voice now.
Do you?
I do, yeah.
I don't.
I feel
I would not like it if Link had a voice.
I think Zelda's evolved in some great ways, but in other ways it's being held back by having to hang on to its past.
I really like the silence of it. Like, I mean, a lot of people get annoyed with having to read all the screens, but for me, they're a scary series of games. They're like, it is a dystopic world that they live in. So the silence that the characters have, and it's probably started off just to save money on voice actors, or like to
Well, the N64 couldn't hold a lot of data on its cartridge, which is incidentally why Square Enix took Final Fantasy to PlayStation instead of Nintendo. Because up until 6 they were on Nintendo.
I'll tell you what I can't believe. How when the N64 came out, I probably can believe it actually, to be honest, but it's interesting to know. Games were about 50 quid.
Yeah.
Even back then.
Yeah, games on the Super Nintendo were 50 quid. The last game I bought for the Super Nintendo was Yoshi's Island, and that was $48.99 or something from like MVC.
I wonder how much it costs to not make a video game, but to put it onto a CD.
Not a lot would be my guess,
because
it's mass manufactured.
I mean, some of them are now like 60 quid.
Yeah, which is and funnily enough, even more expensive to buy digitally when there's no manufacturing costs.
Yeah, and also I mean, in-game purchases are there's no fighting it. But do you know what? I've been playing Destiny, which I'm really into, and there's not in-game purchases, but there's expansions. You buy expansions, and it works because they've got a product. Why would they give it all away for free?
But what you've got to remember is what you're saying there is because you enjoy the game, you're willing to pay.
Yeah.
So it's in a way it's no different to the makers of Call of Duty selling map packs. I mean, I don't agree with it, but if you like the game, you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
So
it is, but it's. What I like about Destiny, I bought the expansion. It was £20 because it continues the story and it gives you more missions to do, more gear. Which you level up with gear when you get to level 20. But more maps, more. So it's more. It's just an enhanced experience.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I agree to an extent because it appeals to you. But
I would rather they gave it all to me for free. Like that would be awesome.
Well, my feeling on it is that you've already paid 40-50 quid for a game. Where do they get off charging extra? But as a fan of in the same sort of way that I will buy expansions to the games I like, I still feel a little bit miffed that I have to. But that's the age we live in these days.
I mean, with video games, it's like it's just a neck. What do you say? Neck on neck, neck to neck.
How do you mean?
Head to head.
What, going with your competitors?
Yeah, but like really close together.
I don't know what you mean.
Toe to toe. It's
toe to toe.
It's two body parts together.
Toe to toe.
It's not cock to balls.
No.
Anyway, so my point is, the contest is console wise, PlayStation, Xbox, Sony, Microsoft, and that obviously that's not revolutionary information. Everyone knows that.
Sure.
But they don't need to pull any punches when it comes to how much they can charge the customer. Because if you have a PlayStation, or if you want a PlayStation, you will buy one. I mean, what are they? £320 for just a PlayStation, something like that.
Yeah.
They could have marked up to 500, and it probably wouldn't have affected their sales all that much. People would just go, "Oh, I'll just have to spend a bit more on it."
I agree to a certain extent, but on the other hand, where's their right to do that?
No, exactly. They don't, but they could get away with it, and that's what I think is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. People are going to buy it no matter what, and that is the problem. It's people will buy it no matter what. So we're never going to send a clear message to them. If they did decide to charge 500, and we all sat down and said no, then they'd soon change that. But because there are the nutters out there that will go and buy it for 500 quid, they'll get away with it for the foreseeable future.
What I think as well as dumb is how people are like, "Oh, why do you buy them? They're so expensive, all the PlayStations and the games and stuff." These are the people we were talking about before. You go out and get drunk every weekend, probably spend 100 quid a week.
Yeah.
Getting drunk. They're buying a PlayStation every month.
Oh, but believe me, I've had
the equivalent of. I've
had the same discussion about the fact that I buy comic books or cards or video games or just any of the things I like to do, and it's almost a moot point now talking to these people, because I just say to them, because that's what I like to do. I don't judge you for what you do at the weekend. Why should you judge me for what I do with my time and money?
Exactly.
If you want to buy a PS4 and you can afford to buy a PS4, buy one.
I don't
exactly.
care.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
And then I usually flip the table up.
Yeah, usually, yeah. But I've had people say, well, how much do you spend on comic books a month? And I tell them, and they're like, wow, that's so much. But, well, how much do you spend on shoes a month, or drinking a month, or going out for dinner with your mates? You know, It's just what I like to do.
I was about to say something else. Interesting.
Profound, I'm sure.
Very profound.
Lay it on me.
Oh, yeah. So, like, living in this flat
Sure.
is... the flat belongs to my girlfriend's mum. We don't pay her rent, which is awesome. But I put that rent money towards things that I think would merit that money going towards. So I've got a car.
Paying my rent?
Paying your rent. No,
Yeah.
that would be nice of me. But no, I mean, I need a car for my job. So I bought a car on this finance thing. I've got 4 years to pay it off. And then I've also got a gym membership and that drum kit, which I'm paying off on finance. So I've kind of, that together, all added up, is the equivalent of what the rent would be.
But what you've got to remember in a realistic world is that you would have to pay rent and for those things.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I had to pay rent, I wouldn't have got those things.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm using that money productively rather than just wasting it on going out getting pissed, because, I mean, I do go and get drunk sometimes, but, I mean, a lot of my friends live in London. They say, come up, and I very rarely do. Not because I don't want to see them, but because it is a lot of money, and I can afford to spend that money, but then I just have no money left to do other things that I wanted to do.
Sure.
So it basically comes down to do whatever the fuck you want.
If you've got the money to do it, then do it. I mean, sometimes I've been a little bit silly on that side where I've spent money I maybe don't have, but ultimately pay your bills, pay for the things you need, and then if you want to go out and spend the rest of it, do it.
Fuck bitches, get money.
Well, exactly. As our old friend Link used to say in Zelda.
If he had a voice, I hope that he would be a gangster.
Now here's a point I think I should make about Zelda, is that in the current realm of gaming, the silent protagonist is you. You make the decisions, you make the discussion decisions. The reason I don't like Link anymore is because you're not playing as you are playing as Link, and he doesn't talk. If you make the decisions for him in terms of you control him and you send him to dungeons, but you make none of his choices, you are just playing him. Whereas in a game, say, like Fallout 3, where you're a silent, you make all the choices.
I guess that they tackled that in Zelda by not calling him Link anymore. He's the hero.
But they give you the choice to name him, which is fine.
Sometimes I call him like Butt.
For me, on a psychological level or whatever, I don't name him. I don't. No. I still don't see the point, because it alludes to a level of control you don't have, as far as I'm concerned.
But that's a big thing in video games, like especially things like World of Warcraft, or even the Star Wars: The Old Republic. I didn't play it, but you were given certain choices which led to different things. But ultimately, there's only like a few paths you could take, wasn't there?
Well, maybe back then, but in modern games, you have games that have hundreds of different endings based on the decisions you make. Look at series like Mass Effect.
Oh, and Silent Hill.
Silent Hill.
Heavy Rain. Oh, Heavy Rain and
3.
Beyond Two Souls are two of my favourite games, because they're like playing a movie.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just, to me, Link now is almost empty. I love playing Zelda for the storyline, but you could replace Link with anyone and it would still be just as interesting to me. I don't think he's a particular...
Even Madonna?
Doubly so for Madonna.
You could replace Link with Madonna?
I'd still play it. I mean, I get it. We associate Zelda with the look of Link, the tunic and that, but ultimately he's a shell. He's empty.
I mean, he's not one guy. He's a bunch of guys. He's hundreds of different guys.
Well, yeah,
that timeline they released was insane.
But I'm talking about in the game you're playing.
Yeah.
I realise that he's lots of different links.
He's an empty shell for you to fill, and I guess.
But you don't.
You're right. They could find better ways of you to inhabit the body of the player.
I just wish he had a little bit more personality. Probably the most personable version is in the Wind Waker, where he has some really cool facial expressions, and he actually seems to have some sort of personality.
Toon Link was a very bold move, and they just did it perfectly.
Oh God, yeah.
And like what they did with Link Between Worlds, that's such a far-fetched idea, and it's perfect. What with Low Rule and stuff, and it just makes so much sense. It's so charming.
The only thing I would change is just give him a personality. That's all. He doesn't even need to talk. He just needs to have some sort of character trait that makes me feel he isn't an empty husk that I'm controlling.
So if you're listening, Miyamoto,
Shigeru
Miyamoto,
sort it out.
Yeah, fucking come on, man. We're on your side, and I know you're listening. Don't pretend you're not.
I tell you what.
Do you remember when he did at E3 and he just had the Pikmin in his pocket and he was dancing with them?
Yeah.
I think that's when Nintendo go, we need to get another guy here to present.
Miyamoto can do no wrong though, really, can he? Because
he's revolutionized video game.
Yeah, I agree.
Revolutionized.
The problem Nintendo faces, unfortunately, people only buy their consoles for their games, which is not a realistic business model.
I love my Wii U, but I haven't played it in a month.
I still play mine fairly regularly, but the appeal isn't very lasting, unfortunately, because it really is only there for the games they make.
I mean, Mario and Luigi, anything Mario related, Smash Brothers. I mean, they're bringing back Star Fox, which is, good.
Yeah, it'll be cool, but again, it's
Metroid Prime. They tried to bring that back, didn't they?
No, they brought Metroid back. They did like a remake on the
DS but it
stuff.
didn't do that well, did it?
I think the Wii trilogy did quite well.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I could be wrong, but
and what else was there? Like, there's certain characters they brought back to the latest Smash Brothers, like Little Mac and stuff.
The most inventive, I would say, of their recent titles is probably Luigi's Mansion 2 on the 3DS.
Luigi's Mansion is great,
and it's coming to arcade soon as well. In Japan, it's the Sega and Nintendo are making Luigi's Mansion Arcade.
Yeah, boy.
But
I'll play that.
Perhaps this is a thread that we should pick up maybe another time.
Next time, I think we're it's time. We don't want to
run for 40 minutes, and so before we go, let's just say that suggestions are welcomed, and you can reach us on Twitter mostly.
Yep. Steve's is at
Gaia Theory. That's GaiaTheory, and you can reach Alex at
LexFarn, LEXFARN, because my name's Alex Farnham.
That's a good one. My name isn't Gaia Theory, it's Steve White.
Oh, shut up, Gaia. They can see right through you. Imagine if your name was Guy O'Theory, like O'Leary, like
O'Flattery. Yeah.
My name's Guy O'Theory.
Yeah, that would be good.
That wasn't a good Irish accent.
No, but we'll pretend it was. Maybe I'll change my name to that.
Guy O'Theory.
But yes, please hit us up on Twitter and talk to us about what you'd like to see coming, and we'll leave you there, I think.
We will. We want to. This is very new for us, and we're excited, and we want it to work. So we just want to talk about what people want to hear.
Yeah. So let us know what you want to hear.
Do that.
Thank you very much.
Peace and love.
Goodbye.